Welcome to Chronicle. The purpose of this article is not to raise a doubt, but to pull down the curtain and show a fact that many ignore. Let's take stock of the situation. 300 million Americans decide to go to the polls. The votes will be counted, and the White House will announce to the Americans who the president-elect is. It doesn't make a dent, is it? Long live democracy. What a free country. Do you know how many ways there are to know if the elected president is exactly the one voted for? None. Zero. Absolute darkness. You can disassemble and reassemble the mechanism for adjusting polling stations, and the way to know this information simply isn't there. The voting mechanism is there for all to see, but a presidential candidate has to face a myriad of obstacles to make his way through the corridors of the White House, obstacles that can be dismantled by a sophisticated strategist, who possesses unassailable arguments and broad enough shoulders to respond to the fire of such a stubborn environment. I'm talking about American politics, and the White House informs the free people that this person is Joe Biden. Now think about it. Was an old man who shows symptoms of senility, with poor psychophysical balance, and questionable memory, the man elected by the Americans? I once saw a monkey with a box of aspirin in his hand. Will he be the director of the hospital? Anything is possible. I have nothing against monkeys, not even against Biden now that I think about it, but there may be more than one reason why the White House has decided to show what to the rest of the world looks more like a fully Section 8 than an open face. This man gets lost in words. He doesn't know where to put his hands. The security services have to tell him the entrances and exits, or he would find himself in the basement thinking he was in the conference room. On internet forums I have found various opinions on how to interpret the scenes of a distracted Biden and an embarrassed Zelensky. There are those who think that the key to reading this image is a subliminal message, and the message is, the leader of the free country is saying to Ukraine, "We take you by the ass," up to those who have speculated in a comic key that there could be something tender between the two. The truth is that Biden didn't do it intentionally. He probably doesn't even remember doing it. And I have to admit that seeing a hand on the ass of the leader of a country at war has something ironic about it. When I listen to Biden, I think, who's running the White House? Who is really ruling the United States of America? Can you imagine Biden managing the Pentagon and the military in real time during a national security meeting? I doubt that you can do it. There is a leadership nucleus that manages this, gentlemen. It has already happened that a president is elected in order to take the blame of the administrations. The people associate a fault with a face, and when the candidacy of that president expires, there is the air of renewal. The people think that a new president means new management, and the show must go on. Now it's the turn of Joe Biden, a president clearly not capable of being president, who will be remembered for the damage done. Biden, according to the leaked information, is that president who does not fight terrorism but allies himself. Let's remember that he made agreements with that bloodthirsty Maduro, and would be ready to accept money even from Putin instead of stopping him. Biden supplies weapons to the Middle East, instead of stopping the extermination of the Triangle of Palestine, Hamas, Israel, and now the initiative to sign the agreement that authorizes artificial intelligence to autonomously choose the targets to hit. Federal agencies will adapt to living with artificial intelligence, and not long a robot will point a weapon at a human. But be careful. Did Biden really make these decisions? What's behind him? Even my dog understood that this man is not capable of governing, and yet the only real question is not asked, and it has the cost of sounding verbose, remembering that we are talking about a man who loses his words while speaking, struggling with his prostate problems. He certainly possesses a great deal of life experience, and no requirements to be able to lead a nation. Joe Biden doesn't even get it right if he bumps into it while trying to lean on the bathroom door handle, hoping he can take aim at the toilet while realizing he's in the Oval Office. And while someone is governing, someone else is changing the catheter to the President of the United States of America. Biden is a moderate, with a reputation for being a Democrat. He has spent his entire election campaign talking about the middle class with an eye to preserving, in an unaltered way, a state of peace, and suddenly he is funding war and closing deals with dictators. Do you see the same hand? In all sincerity, don't you see a force majeure? The puppeteer made a huge mistake this time, and the cameras can't and couldn't hide it. This time it's too obvious. The mistake was to try to convince the public that the most armed nation on earth can be run by an old man with a Parkinson's principle, and this seems excessive to many. How do you explain the fact that Biden is the president who most of all limits his public appearances? It falls more than anyone I've ever seen. There is someone, or something, that wants you to believe that a principle of Alzheimer's can rule the nation. Remember, nothing happens by chance. The images you see are the images they want you to see. The audience laughs, and something else happens behind the scenes. After all, we like the fairy tale. The president elected by the people and works for the people, but it is always and only a fairy tale. You have been put to sleep, and you keep quiet to live quietly. We worry about getting by, because our lives have 1,000 complications, and from total anonymity someone has chosen for you. Your president, cutting off your consent. And deep down you realize it, and you can't ask yourself the question, isn't it possible that what I'm looking at is exactly what I'm looking at? Let me explain with an example. What you are looking at now is an apple. I see it, you see it, but there are contexts in which if you claim to have seen an apple, then you are a conspirator, a racist, a Republican or a Democrat in favor of watermelon. But it's just a damn apple. It's there for all to see that man isn't governing. But to open your eyes would be to feel a sense of disgust for what they're doing with your freedom. And that's the reason why we like to keep them shut up so much. Keep dozing. After all, you're in a free country. And maybe, what you're looking at is a president elected by the people, isn't it? Throughout history, we've seen many presidents involved in impeachment, with Joe Biden himself last on the list. But not once has we heard of the Dark Commission. And if we don't talk about something, we simply decide that it doesn't exist, and at that point, let's hope the president is the only one with Alzheimer's in the White House. Because the devil's best deception is to make you believe that he doesn't exist, but when in doubt, you keep voting. That's all from Chronicle.